respected teachers, honorable guests, and my dear fellows, today I stand before you to speak on a thought-provoking subject. Beliefs are blind. Belief is one of the strongest forces in human life. It guides our actions, shapes our decisions, and gives us hope. However, belief can also be dangerous when it is accepted without questioning, without evidence, and without reasoning. This is why we say beliefs are blind. Belief has always been considered one of the strongest forces that influence human behavior. It is belief that motivates people to dream, to struggle, and to accomplish what at first seems impossible. Belief in one's abilities gives confidence. Belief in a higher purpose provides hope even in the darkest times. Without belief, life would lack meaning and direction, for it is belief that pushes individuals to endure hardships and strive for success. This shows how powerful belief can be in shaping lives and guiding entire communities toward progress and unity. However, the same power of belief that uplifts can also mislead when it is not guided by truth or evidence. When people accept ideas blindly without questioning or examining them, belief turns into a dangerous force. It makes individuals cling to false notions and prevents them from recognizing reality. A person may continue to follow harmful practices or hold rigid ideas simply because they believe in them, even if those beliefs have no logical or scientific foundation. This blind acceptance transforms belief from a source of strength into a tool of ignorance. The danger of belief without evidence lies in its ability to control minds completely. People who refuse to think critically may be manipulated easily by others who use their blind faith for personal or political gain. Superstitions, false promises, and untested claims often spread in this way, and they flourish because individuals never stop to ask whether there is any truth behind them. Instead of liberating people, belief without proof traps them in chains of illusion. Once such beliefs take root, they are difficult to challenge because the person sees questioning as a threat rather than a path to understanding. Moreover, beliefs accepted without evidence can have far-seeing consequences beyond the individual. Entire societies have been misled by unfounded ideas that were accepted as absolute truths. Wars have been fought, communities divided, and countless lives destroyed because of beliefs that were never examined or questioned. What began as simple trust turned into destructive force when logic and evidence were ignored. This reveals the double-edged nature of belief. When enlightened by reason, it builds civilizations. But when blind, it has the potential to destroy them. Blind belief often works like a mask over the eyes, preventing people from seeing reality as it is. An individual who accepts a belief without questioning may be convinced that their perspective is absolutely correct, even when it is based on nothing but tradition, superstition, or emotional attachment. This false certainty leads them to make decisions that are not in their best interests. Instead of relying on reason or knowledge, they depend on an illusion that provides comfort but lacks truth. Such illusions can misguide people into living a life where their choices are dictated not by evidence but by assumptions passed down without examination. The influence of blind belief does not stop with individuals. It spreads into families, communities, and entire societies. When a community adopts a belief without reflection, it shapes their values, customs, and laws in ways that may harm rather than help. Prejudices based on race, caste, or gender often originate from blind beliefs that were accepted as natural truths for generations. These untested convictions become so deeply rooted that people consider them unchangeable even when they clearly promote inequality and suffering. This shows how blindly accepted beliefs can misguide societies into practicing injustice while believing they are doing the right thing. History offers many examples where blind beliefs dragged societies backward instead of pushing them forward. In the name of unproven ideas, people resisted science, rejected new knowledge, and silenced reformers. Progress was delayed not because the truth was absent, but because people refused to see beyond the veil of their blind convictions. Societies that clung stubbornly to false beliefs often collapsed or fell behind, while those that encouraged questioning and reasoning advanced in knowledge, technology, and culture. Thus, blind belief has the power not only to mislead but also to determine the rise or fall of civilizations. Even in modern times, blind beliefs continue to mislead societies in subtle ways. False information, conspiracy theories, and baseless claims often spread rapidly because many accept them without verifying their authenticity. This creates confusion, division, and mistrust within communities. When a large number of people place blind faith in such narratives, it can destabilize institutions, disrupt social harmony, and even influence national decisions. The danger lies not in belief itself, but in its blindness, which misleads people and entire societies into mistaking falsehood for truth. History serves as one of the clearest mirrors reflecting the consequences of blind beliefs. Time and again, humanity has witnessed how unexamined convictions have sown seeds of hatred and destruction. Entire wars have been fought because groups held on to their beliefs so rigidly that they were unwilling to listen to reason or tolerate differences, whether it was religious conflicts, territorial disputes justified by divine claims, or struggles between cultures. Blind beliefs provided the fuel for violence and devastation. These wars not only cost lives, but also stalled human progress, destroying knowledge, art, and civilizations in their way. Discrimination has also been deeply rooted in blind beliefs throughout history. Ideas of superiority based on race, gender, or social class did not arise from logic or evidence, but from inherited assumptions that people accepted as unquestionable truths. Such beliefs allowed oppressive systems like slavery, untouchability, and colonial rule to flourish for centuries. Victims of these injustices suffered not because of any natural inferiority, but because blind beliefs were strong enough to convince society that such practices were justified. This highlights how powerful and dangerous blind faith can be when it becomes a foundation for inequality. Blind beliefs have also stood in the way of justice, creating laws and customs that punished the innocent and rewarded the guilty. The trials, executions, and silencing of these voices remind us of how justice can be twisted when blind belief is stronger than truth. Furthermore, the effects of blind beliefs in history were not limited to a single region or era. They spanned across continents and generations. From the witch hunts of medieval Europe to the racial segregation in modern times, the pattern remains the same. People cling to beliefs without evidence and justify cruelty in their name. Instead of uniting humanity, blind beliefs have divided it, leading to endless cycles of fear, hatred, and conflict. History, therefore, is not just a record of events, but also a warning of what happens when beliefs are allowed to control minds without the guidance of reason. Curiosity is the natural spark that leads human beings to explore, learn, and discover. It is through asking questions that knowledge expands and progress takes place. However, blind belief has the power to extinguish the spark by convincing people that questions are unnecessary or even dangerous. When individuals are taught to accept ideas without reflection, they lose their motivation to investigate further. The moment belief becomes untouchable and secret, curiosity is silenced, and people stop seeking answers beyond what has been handed down to them. The suppression of curiosity caused by blind belief can be seen clearly in how societies often treat children and learners. A child by nature asks endless questions, wanting to know why things happen the way they do. But when told to accept answers without explanation, they gradually lose the courage to question. Education, instead of being a process of discovery, turns into a system of memorizing beliefs without critical thought. This cycle ensures that curiosity is buried under layers of unchallenged traditions and doctrines, leaving individuals less capable of independent thinking. Throughout history, great minds who dared to question blind beliefs faced resistance and even punishment. Galileo was condemned for challenging the belief that the earth was the center of the universe. Reformers in different societies were silenced for questioning outdated customs. These examples reveal how blind belief not only discourages curiosity, but actively works against it, punishing those who try to break free. Instead of appreciating the value of inquiry, societies tied to blind beliefs view questioning as a threat to stability, even though true stability comes from knowledge and growth. When curiosity is suppressed, innovation and progress suffer. New inventions, discoveries, and reforms require a spirit of questioning, a willingness to explore beyond what is already accepted. Blind belief, however, chains the mind to a narrow vision of reality, making it impossible to think outside those boundaries. As a result, societies stagnate, repeating the same practices and ideas without improvement. This suppression of curiosity does not just affect individuals. It affects the entire direction of human civilization by halting the flow of progress that questioning naturally brings. Science has always been driven by curiosity and the search for truth, but its journey has often been blocked by blind traditions. Whenever scientists introduced new ideas that challenged long-standing beliefs, they faced suspicion, criticism, and even hostility. For example, when early astronomers discovered that the Earth revolved around the Sun, their findings directly opposed the blind belief that Earth was the center of the universe. Instead of being celebrated, they were attacked because their discoveries threatened established traditions. This illustrates how blind beliefs resisted progress by holding on to outdated views. Reformers throughout history have also struggled against the walls built by blind traditions. Social practices that were harmful or unjust often continued for centuries because people refused to question them. When brave reformers tried to abolish slavery, fight for women's rights, or challenge the caste system, they met with fierce opposition. Their efforts were not rejected because they lacked truth or compassion, but because they disturbed traditions that people blindly followed. This resistance delayed reforms that could have brought justice and equality much earlier. The progress of societies has therefore been slowed significantly by blind beliefs. Whenever innovation appeared, whether in science, politics, or education, traditionalists who clung to unexamined ideas saw it as a threat rather than a step forward. The resistance did not just harm individuals who proposed change. It harmed entire generations by depriving them of opportunities to grow. Countries that held tightly to blind traditions often remained underdeveloped, while those that embraced scientific thinking and reform moved ahead in knowledge and prosperity. Even today, the struggle between progress and blind tradition continues. Modern science and reforms face obstacles in areas where untested beliefs still dominate thinking. For instance, medical advancements are sometimes rejected because people trust superstitions more than scientific evidence. New social reforms are opposed simply because they challenge customs that have existed for centuries. This ongoing conflict proves that as long as blind belief holds power, science and reform will always face resistance, no matter how beneficial they may be for humanity. Belief in itself is not harmful. It becomes harmful only when it exists without balance. A true belief is one that stands on the foundation of reason, logic, and evidence. When belief is guided by rational thought, it turns into a source of enlightenment rather than ignorance. For example, belief in education is meaningful not because it is blindly accepted, but because evidence shows how knowledge transforms lives. Similarly, belief in justice is valuable because reasoning proves that fairness strengthens societies. In this way, belief becomes powerful when it is supported by logic and evidence. Balancing belief with reasoning helps people avoid falling into the trap of blind faith. Instead of accepting something merely because it has been handed down through tradition, individuals can examine it critically and judge whether it holds truth. This balance allows people to separate superstition from wisdom and prejudice from genuine values. It also creates an environment where questioning is not seen as a threat, but as a natural way of strengthening belief. Through reasoning, beliefs transform from rigid doctrines into flexible guides that can adapt to new knowledge and circumstances. When belief is supported by evidence, it has the potential to unite rather than divide. For instance, belief in scientific medicine is widely accepted because it is tested, proven, and demonstrated to save lives. Unlike superstition, it does not rely on fear or blind faith, but on evidence that can be repeated and verified. This kind of belief encourages cooperation and trust among people as they can see the results for themselves. Logic and reasoning, therefore, make beliefs stronger, more credible, and universally beneficial. Moreover, beliefs balanced with logic protect societies from manipulation and exploitations. Leaders, institutions, or groups that rely on blind beliefs often manipulate followers for personal gain. However, when individuals question, demand evidence, and apply reasoning, they become less vulnerable to such exploitation. This critical balance empowers people to make decisions that are both meaningful and practical. It allows belief to serve as a guide toward progress and truth rather than a chain that holds humanity back. When belief is enlightened by knowledge and understanding, it becomes a powerful force for good. Unlike blind belief, which limits vision, enlightened belief opens the mind to truth and clarity. It does not fear questions or challenges because it is rooted in logic and evidence. Such beliefs encourage individuals to explore, to learn, and to grow while holding on to values that uplift human dignity. Enlightened belief is not static. It evolves with new discoveries and adapts to the needs of changing times, ensuring that it remains relevant and beneficial. Enlightened beliefs have historically played a major role in guiding humanity toward progress. The belief in equality, for example, inspired social movements that fought against slavery and discrimination. The belief in human rights encouraged reforms that gave people freedom and dignity. Similarly, belief in science and education transformed societies by providing tools for innovation and development. These examples prove that when belief is combined with wisdom, it leads to advancements that shape a better and fairer world. At the individual level, enlightened belief gives a sense of purpose while also fostering critical thinking. It allows people to hold faith in something greater than themselves without losing the ability to reason. This balance helps individuals live more meaningful lives as they are guided not only by hope and conviction but also by knowledge and truth. Enlightened belief creates resilience in times of difficulty because it is built on a foundation that does not crumble under scrutiny or doubt. Enlightened belief creates resilience in times of difficulty. Sound on a broader scale, enlightened belief has the power to unite rather than divide societies. Since it is based on principles that can be understood and accepted universally, such as justice, compassion, and truth, it promotes harmony among people of different backgrounds. It reduces conflict because it seeks evidence and reasoning instead of clinging to dogma. By encouraging dialogue, cooperation, and mutual respect, enlightened beliefs become guiding lights that lead humanity away from ignorance and toward lasting peace and progress. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have seen, belief is one of the strongest forces that shape our lives and societies. But when it is blind, it can mislead, divide, and destroy. History, tradition, and even the present remind us that unquestioned convictions often bring more harm than good. Yet, when belief is enlightened with reason, guided by evidence, and open to questioning, it becomes a light that shows the path to progress and truth. Let us therefore not reject belief, but refine it. Let us choose to believe not blindly, but wisely, balancing faith with understanding and hope with knowledge. Only then will our beliefs uplift humanity instead of blinding it. Thank you.